Right. Neighborhoods Incorporated to Southwest Michigan Community Development Corporation. Right. That's a lot more words, but it sounds very modern, doesn't it?
Well, we hope that's the impression. There's several threads that created the logic for the name change and the repositioning. We were founded, as you noted, back in 1981, so we've been around coming up on 35 years. Back in about 1991, we had a significant transformation as an organization. We became affiliated with NeighborWorks America, which was created by the United States Congress and is a network of something over 240 community development and economic development organizations around the country. So that was a very significant shift for us. It also launched us into several new program lines of business. We became a community development financial institution, which is a program of the United States Treasury Department. And so we've been in that mode for the last 25 years. As we're coming out of the last 6-7 years of challenging economic times, we felt that it was time for us to once again sort of look at who we are, look at our business model, and update it. And we're always looking for funding, for additional sources of funding. It's just what we have to do in order to carry out our mission. So we felt like making it very clear as to the nature of our organization, that being a community development corporation, which it always has been, but our former name served us quite well back in 1981 when we were created, and it served us quite well for a number of years, and it has great brand recognition currently. But we have found over the last couple of years in a lot of community conversations that so many people still don't know what our true capability is and the scope of our capacity to serve the community. So we felt like having this 3 words, Community Development Corporation, were important to us. We're also considering the possibility of expanding our service area. We're not moving away from Battle Creek in any way, shape, or form, but over a period of time, if we can expand our service area to be more inclusive of other communities in the southwest part of the state, that will enable us to access more and larger grant opportunities, both to support our programming, but more importantly, we hope it'll help us find funds to invest, capital funds, which is really what our core benefit is in the community, or the investments that we make.
Well, and I want to talk about that when we come back in just a minute, and what community development really means. And when we talk about how the organization spends most of its time and that focus, where is that? We'll talk about that when we come right back on WBCK 830. 15 WBCK, Thursday morning. Bill Phillips is here with us, Southwest Michigan Community Development Corporation. We once knew them as Neighborhoods Incorporated. What is community development? What does that mean under this umbrella, Bill?
Well, quite frankly, it's a little bit of an eye of the beholder concept. We cover a pretty broad spectrum of activities. In our case, we have 4 core program lines of business. We do education and counseling, which involves educating folks to the home buying process. We still are great advocates of home buying and home ownership as being a primary source of building family wealth over time. We provide educational services for families that may need to improve their skills on managing the household budget. We also continue to provide foreclosure advocacy and intervention services, where we actually represent current homeowners that may have a little bit of a challenge with their mortgage and need someone to step in and help them seek modifications and a little bit of relief. The good news about that particular piece of business is that has declined substantially over the last couple of years, which is great for the community.
Yeah, good to hear that. So when you're talking about we were discussing this off the air just a second ago, the notion that what's in a name, community development rings some bells, maybe some funding bells that simply saying neighborhoods might not ring.
Well, it broadens the perception of the organization and really aligns it better with who we are and, as I said earlier, what our true capacity is. When you look at our credentials, being affiliated with the National Network of Community and Economic Development Organizations, NeighborWorks America, and you look at our affiliation with the Treasury Department through the CDFI program, those are credentials that nobody else in the area has.
Right.
And we have, quite honestly, I'm a little embarrassed to say this, we have not exploited those over the years. We have kept to a very narrow focus, and it's time that we expand and that we tap those capacities that perhaps we haven't chosen to tap in the past. It's important for us to be sure that folks, when we talk about particularly economic development as a subset of this whole topic, that they understand how important neighborhoods are to lay the foundation for future economic development. It impacts our ability to attract new business and new employers to the area. The quality of our neighborhoods and the quality of life of our residents here are directly linked to our ability to grow the community, and that's what's really important to us at the end of the day. Quality of life and growth, because that growth relates to economic growth, which we all need to just keep pace with the times.
Mm-hmm. You talked about those multiple focuses that you've had in the organization and will continue to have, and that foreclosure assistance has scaled back a little, just a sign of the times, which is nice to see. Where do you spend most of your time these days? What's the major focus you have right now?
Well, right now we continue to look for opportunities to develop and rehab homes in the core neighborhoods that surround the downtown, which is where our primary investment has been over the years. We, quite honestly, for the last few months have spent a significant amount of time trying to develop additional capital resources and opportunities for us, where over the next several months we hope to be able to bring more investment dollars into the neighborhoods. One of the things that we're very happy about is a couple of months ago we were accepted as members of the Federal Home Loan Bank of Indianapolis, and the FHLBI is a very common affiliation for credit unions and banks in the area. So for an organization of our size and doing what we do, being a nonprofit community development corporation, that's really shows a lot of strength and confidence in the organization, and we're hoping to leverage that and, as I say, to bring more capital that we can invest. So that's been a very intense area of focus for us, is to develop that capability.
So that Indianapolis entity then is in the habit of assessing potential for investment in communities where rehab is necessary.
Yeah, by nature they provide financial opportunities for their member organizations to work with them to carry out the community development mission. And it's a very important affiliation. At the very least, even if we didn't leverage attracting capital through them, we would be able to learn and be able to be part of a network of regional organizations that do comparable work in other communities. And so here again, it's a networking opportunity, but it also carries, just like the CDFI and the NeighborWorks America affiliation, it carries an opportunity to gain capital and access financial vehicles that might not otherwise be available.
Bill Phillips is here from Southwest Michigan Community Development Corporation, once known as Neighborhoods Incorporated. We'll talk about some of these efforts that they're doing, and what are the trends now? Are they changing? Easier, less so? And is the goal that every house is rehabbed and occupied and you put yourself out of work? We'll talk about that coming up in just a few minutes on WBCK 820. Good morning. Bill Phillips with us from Southwest Michigan Community Development Corporation. So essentially what you've said is a change in name better reflects what you do, so that those who might be inclined to say, hey, here's some cash, will be quicker to see where the object of that cash goes.
Well, yeah. Excuse me. For instance, earlier this year, we launched a small business lending program, which was new for us. And that program shows a lot of opportunity to support growth in the community. We think that our affiliation with the FHLBI, for example, they do help provide funding to enhance small business lending programs. So all of these things build on themselves. As we build this capacity in different directions than we have in the past, when we go to have conversations with potential funders for making additional investment in the area, it will help us to have a broader array of programs and services, and particularly lending and financial instruments that we're able to offer. Strength builds on strength. Last year, for example, when we had our organizational assessment from NeighborWorks America, they rated us as strong, and that was very important for us, particularly coming off the last several years. So really what we're seeing is a recognition of the recovery that the community and the region and the country has begun to see, and the opportunity now to once again be forward-looking in all the things about our community and how we make investments. You know, we went through a period of time when there was no investment. People were afraid. They were uncertain. Uncertainty freezes things.
Right.
In our opinion, it's time now to be forward-looking and to once again be making those investments, especially in the community, in our neighborhoods, and strengthening the community as a whole, once again, with an eye toward not only preserving our current residents and retaining them to continue living here, but also to attract new employers, new small businesses that will all support our local economy.
So as you look at the neighborhood investments you could make, be they helping to rehab homes or upstart small businesses, what is that forward-looking future in addition to that? Is there a wish that you have that you'd like to do?
Well, the wish for me, if I had to boil it down into an easy statement, would be I'd like to see some positive growth. You know, my wish list would be that we would grow and keep pace with the nation as a whole. I'd love to see the community grow at a slightly faster pace, because, as I mentioned earlier, growth, in my estimation, is a primary driver of all the good things in the community. It gives people confidence to make that additional investment, right. And we need that, and we need investment from outside the community coming here to help leverage all the capital that is here today. We are a very blessed community because we have some organizations that are very philanthropic. We have a lot of support from the business community, and but we always need extra help. We always need to leverage all those resources that we have, and the best way that we can demonstrate faith in our own community is through that growth and through the good programs and improving quality of life of all of our residents.
So is the goal then to look around and say, yep, we have no homes to rehab here, let's move the boundaries out and look elsewhere?
Well, yeah, you know, if you're going to really write out your wish list, we'd like to have no blight in any of our neighborhoods, no boarded up houses, no boarded up commercial buildings, and no unused industrial or commercial spaces in the community. I mean, that in itself would prove that we're in a very positive growth mode. It goes back to very basic economics of supply and demand. If you can absorb all the supply, then you're going to trigger demand, and that's really what we need. We need demand for services, demand for housing, demand for space. You know, 7-8 years ago, our property values just in the residential community took a huge hit.
Oh, yeah.
We've recovered largely from that, but still there are neighborhoods that haven't recovered, that still need investment. They still need more families moving into those neighborhoods to fill a lot of the gaps that we have. And as we do that, we'll see property values going back up. Property values it's important that they improve so that families can make those investments in their homes and feel like if they have to sell later on down the road to accommodate a job change or a change in their family, that they'll be able to sell their homes and recoup their initial investment and take that and go to another neighborhood and invest. So same thing on the commercial side.
I'm running out of time, but I do want to get this in. Somebody might be listening to this now, and there's a blighted home in their neighborhood. Did they just pick up the phone and call you and say, there it is?
Well, the city is very good at tracking all of these particular homes, vacant, abandoned buildings, blighted communities. They can certainly call us. I think their first call would be to the City Community Development Department. Those folks are on top of their game locally, so we're very blessed to have them as active as they are. But between us and other organizations in the community, we'll do the best we can. That's probably one of the areas where we have the least amount of capital to invest, because quite honestly, when you tear down a building, you're by nature not typically replacing it immediately, so
right.
It's difficult to make that investment. We tore down 16 buildings last year that we had in inventory that cost us a lot of money to do that. And we decided to do that rather than invest in a couple of buildings to rehab and resell, because we thought that served the greater good of the community.
Right.
So, but it's tough to find funding to accommodate that, but we do need that.
Well, congratulations on the renewed focus, and we'll look forward to checking in with you again soon.
Thanks, Richard. We appreciate it.
Bill Phillips, Southwest Michigan Community Development Corporation. 8:30.